Tennessee freshman wing Nate Ament was really a consensus top 3 pick in a lot of mock drafts this preseason. However, some issues during his freshman season at Tennessee caused him to drop down some draft boards. Yes, the point of this video is to point out some of those issues that occurred during his freshman season, but also point out the potential and the upside that Ament might bring to a team. The obvious potential is his physical features. Standing at 6'9.5" with nearly a 7-foot wingspan and a 9-foot 1-inch reach, he has these physical tools of a modern NBA wing that a lot of teams are looking for. These long, athletic, lanky wings. One thing about Ament that I've heard that is a concern is his weight and how skinny he is. However, I don't usually buy into that because obviously these are teenagers most of the time. They're still growing into their body, and we've seen players like Kevin Durant or SGA have success with these slender bodies. Now, I'm not saying Ament is going to turn into Kevin Durant or SGA. I'm just saying that it is possible for someone of his build to have success in the NBA. The other big concern with Ament's game was his inefficiency. He really got off to a rough start at the beginning of the season with Tennessee, where it just felt like he could not hit a shot. As the season went on, he started to find his shot more, but what you can see from the shot chart is his game really is made for the modern NBA, where it's a heavy dose of threes and a heavy dose at the rim. With that being said, even despite those struggles that he had at the beginning of the season, he has a really pure jump shot that is extremely fluid and it just looks clean. And I bring that up to say because when he gets to an NBA team, whatever team drafts him, it's not like they're going to have to completely rework his jump shot and pretty much teach him how to shoot again. All the fundamentals are there. I think his early season struggles really came down to more just getting comfortable and getting into the flow of things and jumping from high school to college. When you look at the pie chart of Ament's game, you see a majority of it is at the rim, but pretty much the rest of it is the perimeter. Obviously, there's other parts like the playmaking, playing in transition, and posting up a bit, but getting to the basket and shooting threes is his primary way of scoring. Something that I find interesting about this is he's considered to have all the traits and all the intangibles to become an all-star level player. However, when you look at this pie chart and you see how he's scoring the basketball, even if he doesn't achieve those all-star aspirations, he can still become a very serviceable NBA role player. And I think sometimes when you're going through the draft process or scouting, sometimes people hear, oh, he can become a really good role player as a negative thing, and it's not. Teams nowadays, with the way that the NBA is structured and the way that the cap situation is, you need a deep bench to be able to help you in those long games in the playoffs throughout the season. When you look at last season's NBA champions in the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have such a deep bench and they have so many people that can provide contributions. You're seeing it this year with them as well, with players like Alex Caruso and Jared McCain. With that being said, in the right system, I think Ament's ceiling is much higher than just being a role player. I think he could be a player that you give the ball to and say, hey, we need a bucket. Maybe we haven't scored in a few possessions and we need a bucket right now. He can be that guy for you. When you look at his assisted rate, what you see is when he is getting to the basket, less often than not, he is doing it on his own and he is creating that look at the basket. However, the opposite of that is when he's shooting a three, most of the time it is because someone is probably driving to the basket and kicks it out to him for an open three. Obviously, this could be a result of the system that he was in at Tennessee, which is likely, but something it shows me is he really does need to work on his shot creation. Another thing that really stands out to me is when we look at this prospect stats, he has all the tools to become a really good serviceable defender in the NBA level. He has the body for it, and I think he's athletic enough to be able to guard some of those bigger wings in the NBA. Obviously, the offensive talent and potential is there for Ament, but the way that he's going to stay on the floor early in his NBA career is by playing defense. Now, everybody's favorite part of scouting is the player comparisons and who this guy projects to be. Statistically, one of the players that stands out on the list to me is Kelly Oubre, because I think that's actually a very realistic expectation for Ament. I think there's a world where he is a little bit better than Oubre is, or what Oubre was at his peak, but I think that's a really good player comparison and what you can expect to get out of Ament. The early comparisons that Ament was getting was Kevin Durant, and I understand it. When you look at them optically, it does look like Kevin Durant with this player that likes to shoot the ball and is extremely tall, but I also think that that's just an unrealistic expectation to put on a player so early in their career. However, it is realistic to assume that Ament could become this all-NBA type of scorer. As always, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.